now we have a panel discussion that I have been very excited about. And I'm going to not waste much time. This is a panel discussion with for very young, very promising people. I'm going to introduce the panel moderator, Tamanna Sengupta. Tamanna is all of 23. She is an enthusiastic environmentalist. She graduated in environmental science and management from the University of York. And one of Tamanna's abiding passions is unraveling climate change for the wider public so that they can demand appropriate action from the authorities. Now, if you haven't already, do check out Tamanna's Instagram handle at the rate It's Me Tamanna, where you can get a glimpse of the interesting work that Tamanna does in trying to deconstruct climate change headlines for the average reader. So Tamanna, and to the rest of the kids, I hope this is, I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting conversation on the role of green literature in their lives. I should also tell you, all the children on this panel were also part of our jury, and Tamanna was part of our jury advisors. So thank you, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Megha, and thank you for having me here at Green Lit Fest. I'm very excited. I'm going to introduce our panelists today, and as I introduce you, I request you to turn your camera on as well. First, we have Arunima Ghosh. She is 9 years old. She is a student at Aga Khan Academy, Hyderabad. She loves music, art, reading, writing, and playing with her pup Jasmine. Thank you for coming here today, Arunima. We then have 12-year-old Raghavan Balaji. He's a student at Bombay International School. He loves to discover the how and why of the world and dreams of becoming an inventor someday. He also enjoys reading, Minecraft, and long swims. And then, lastly, we have 14-year-old Celesta Fernandez. She lives in Goa and studies at Sharda Mandir School. She loves to read and write stories. Thank you so much for joining us, Arunima, Celesta, and Raghavan. So today we're going to discuss about the role of green literature in our lives, right? And before I start the panel, I want to start off with a question. All three of you have mentioned that you love reading. So what is it exactly about reading that you love? Why do you enjoy reading? And I'll start with Arunima.
Okay, yes, so I love reading fictional books because of the fantasy in them, and there are a lot of illustrations in those books. So that makes me a lot more interested in reading fictional books. And I also like comic books because a few of the comic books I've read are very humorous, and that's what makes me very interested in reading comic books and fictional books. So, yeah.
Thanks, Arunima. How about you, Raghavan? Why do you like reading?
I mean, this may sound like a cat poster, but so reading literally takes you into another world. So if anything bad happens, you can just go into it and forget about it. Every time I read a good book, I always forget about the bad thing that happened before. And sometimes I don't even read just to elevate bad things. I read because, well, it's just fun to read. Every single book gives you a different world. You have the ability to imagine anything you want in any book. And that is what appeals to me.
That's so true. Reading removes all of the boundaries that the real world puts around us. How about you, Celesta?
Well, for me, I didn't really have the opportunity to explore libraries from my schools because till the sixth, I had never been into a library. My schools didn't have them. And in the sixth, I came to where I'm staying right now, and I finally entered a library. And for a period of time, I refused to read books without pictures because I found them very bland and boring. But then one of my friends told me, why do you not like books without pictures? They are so much better because you can imagine the characters, the stories, the places around them described however you want to. There is no limit to it. And I think that's what I later on found and learned, that it's really, really interesting that this one character, that small description can be implemented in like 50 different ways if necessary. And that's what really kept me going and reading books. So yeah, I really do love exploring, love imagining. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think I agree. For me, it was once I started reading, I realized that there's no end to how much you can explore when it comes to reading, and that's really appealed to me. You also mentioned that you didn't start from reading at the library in school. So coming to that, do you have something related to environmental education being taught at school, and do you enjoy it? I'll start with Celesta.
Um, I think we had environmental studies instead of science for a while, but after that, I don't think I have been like there was GK in environmental studies, but at one point of time, that too they stopped and they started focusing on the mainstream subjects and the main parts of science. So like till then, till what I learned during them, that was all I had towards environment. And then they introduced science, and science is so much more like it's much more complex than just learning about the environment. So yeah.
And just to follow up to that, when you were reading the books in our long list, did you feel like the green literature, fiction or non-fiction, is helping you understand more than the environmental education at school?
Yes, I actually when I was reading these books, I was really fascinated because I never knew there was like so much. I really didn't know, and I wish I was taught all about this, and in school especially, and people around me knew too, and they told me about this. But in school they teach the same things over and over again is one thing I noticed. The same chapters again and again and again. So it's like they could have taught us so much more, but they kept it so constrained.
Yeah, that brings us back to how books can like go across all the boundaries that we set, right? Um, I'll come to Arunima next. Do you enjoy environmental education being taught at school? And do you think that reading books, green literature, helps you learn more than what is taught at school?
Yes. So I feel in our school we basically learned about sustainability, and in that unit we learned about multiple things. We learned about deforestation, we learned about air pollution, noise pollution, sea pollution. So I found that it was very interesting. And second is that yes, reading green literature helps me understand a lot more than what is taught at school, because there are illustrations, and that makes you understand better, because when there's illustrations you can instead of just reading the text, you can easily make out what the text is trying to say by looking at the illustrations. So yeah.
Yeah. And Raghav, coming to you, what about you? Do you enjoy environmental education at school? Do you think you've learned more through books?
I mean, I don't think I've learned a lot more through books, but I wouldn't say environmental education is useless, but it's pretty close. Because see, in school, most students take an innate hating towards school, so they will take a hating towards all types of subjects. Even if they would have originally enjoyed it if it wasn't taught in school, they would always they would hate it if it was taught in school because they hate school. Books, however, you don't have most people don't have a bias towards books. So I don't think it would be able to convey information better and have a bigger chance of getting someone interested. And sometimes there are different types of environmental books. Some of them are just like straight up giving you facts. There are not that many people who enjoy it, but if you need actual information, it's the best to go. The second ones are books like Anup. They are books that convey all the information in factual books with some witty sense and humor. They always have a way to keep you interested. So two examples are Unearthed and Ugly Bugs and Nasty Nature by Horrible Sense and Megha Gupta.
Yeah, I remember Horrible Science brings up a lot of my memories from reading at during school. So yeah, thank you for that. And you mentioned very correctly that there are different kinds of books and different kinds of audiences that like those books. So coming to that, do you think that books on all of these topics, animals, saving animals, protecting the environment, climate change, or even biographies of people who are working towards protecting our planet, do you think that books like these are successful in raising awareness among children about these topics? And I'll start with you, Raghav, since you brought that up.
Yes, I think most books that actually mention it will spark up an audience, but books shouldn't really mention it just in passing. So you may not know this, but I wrote a few, like say 300 400 word books, but in those books I made it so that the main issue was a climate change related problem. It even may be a fantasy story, like the first book I wrote. It was about this water breathing dragon that was trying to save people from a fire. So I made like several books in the series. But in the second one, the problem was that the coral reefs were getting destroyed and dragons were moving out of their habitat. So it mentions the problem and you get to focus on it. It actually stays in your head because it's a main problem. Books like Grey Pies, on the other hand, are doing almost the same thing. They are giving you the fantasy. It's a good book in bookwise. But if you want to learn about the environment or make someone aware, it's not a great book. It does have, I would say, it has environmental content in this, like the river drying up. But because of the fantasy, they forget about it. They mostly focus on all the things that are there, like them being dead, also animals, many types of animals, and much more like that. You kind of lose sight of the actual climate change problem. Books like Cloud Called Buddha, on the other hand, also have the same type of storyline, except they actually make you focus on the problem because you can't go three words in the book without encountering it anyways. So the book actually makes you focus on the problem. It makes you realize what is going on, and the book also has shows children making change, how you can fix the problem. So I would say this book is very ideal for environmental change.
True. So, from what you're saying, what I'm understanding is that some books are good for you to read and understand what the story is telling you, while some books talk about a larger problem that stays in your mind long after you've read the book, making you more inclined to learn more. So, Arulmar, what do you think? Do you agree with Raghav, and do you agree with the fact that books on important topics make you learn more or make you more aware of problems that are going on?
Yes, I completely agree because, uh, but whatever Raghu said is true. Some books have the same storyline, but they do focus on the topic, but uh, the language and everything else in the book make the make the reader's mind divert into something else. They don't quite focus on what the book is mainly written on about. But books like Adventures of the Humongous Family uh, are like on the topic. They are good. They talk about different things, but at the same time, they make it easy to learn, and it even is about about the environment. So
Right.
yeah, I very much agree to what Raghav said.
Okay, I'll move to Celesta next and just a request for the upcoming questions. Let's not get too specific about the books in particular. We'll talk more in broad about green literature and the long list. So, Celeste, coming to you, do you think that such books on these issues, they help you gain more awareness about real world issues?
Yeah, they do, because like I said in the beginning, there was so much in there that I really did not know about, that I had no way of knowing about until I read them. And it's like Raghavan said, some books, they write about stuff, but they're just ignored. They write about the environment, but we just feel like when we read them, we just ignore the tiny details. So like we mull on them for a second and then just move on to the next chapter where something exciting has happened. So it's like books that mainly tell us about the stories of environment and animals and much more. They really do bring us the awareness of how they have lived life and how their life is changing because of us, and how we should be actually trying to help them and how we have harmed them. So yeah, um, green literature really does help in bringing awareness to a lot of issues. And it's also one of the most fast ways of spreading awareness.
That's very true. And I also feel like green literature is written in a way where you don't have to be of a certain age or have a certain level of knowledge to understand what they're saying, right? Coming to that, have you, all of you have read most of our books from the long list for children. Have you read any environment themed books before this, or aside from books that were in the long list, have you come across books that focus on these issues before? I will start with Arunima.
Yes, I've come across a lot of books that mainly focus on climate change, the environment, and I've also read books that are about the environment, like a few encyclopedias. So, yeah, I have come across books that talk about the environment and climate change.
How about you, Raga?
Yes.
Have you come across books talking about environment or climate change before you came across the long list for GLF?
Yes, I have this. I came across Unearth and me and Marvin Gardens.
Mhm.
Unearth I've already explained in detail, and I won't bore you with more details. I think I've rambled for long enough. And I also remember I have this book. This book and the whole trilogy.
Oh, what's the name of that book?
Oh, it's Dennis the Dodo.
Right. And Celesta, how about you? Have you read any of these theme books before?
I have read books with environmental theme, but it's like they were all short stories and stuff. You like they come as a collection. Not all of them speak about environmental, and not all of them speak about animals or such. Some of them speak about fantasy. Some of them speak about different topics altogether. So it's like most of them I read when I was really young, so I don't remember. But yeah, I've read a couple of horrible science magazines and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Horrible Science really leaves an impact, right? With the way they, the drawings and the way they write things. And so, yeah, coming to that, we discussed how there are different kinds of books. At the beginning, Arunima even mentioned that she sometimes prefers comics or picture books, things like that. So, broadly, we have fiction or non-fiction, right? If you were to just look at two aspects of it. So, these are real world issues. They're happening out there right now. We're living it. So when it comes to things like this, do you prefer them being told to you in a fictional story or in a non-fictional story, or do you think it doesn't really matter? And I'll start with Celesta.
Honestly, for some of them, I think it would be better to be written in a fictional way, or and some of them better to be straight out given in fact. But honestly, more importantly, it kind of depends on the age group of the person you're trying to convey the story to. So it's like if I was younger, I would just ignore what is being said if it wasn't in a fictional way, because I catch details of it, but at the same time it would just be too plain for me. But if it was written in a fictional way, it would be really interesting to see and to learn and to fantasize about. So overall, it depends on the person you are conveying your story to, the age group, and the likes and dislikes.
Right. And then again, that conflict of not making it so much a fantasy that you forget that it's a real world issue. Coming to Raghav, do you think, what do you prefer, fiction or non-fiction when it comes to these issues?
Me, I honestly don't know. There are so many different ways and so many different books I've read. Each one portrays it in fiction and non-fiction, and so many of them always have a really good way of portraying it. Like the two most contrasting ways I've found are Unearthed and Me and Marvin Gardens. See, so this is a fiction book that is written in a very fantasy way. Like it's literally a crossbreed between a pig and a dog, and a lot of other things I don't know. And so it is a fantasy story, but it tells you a lot about the environment. It also shows you that it also has a pig that eats plastic, which is something that helps climate change. But it also tells you a lot about the environment. And this is fiction, of course, but it is it tells you a lot about the animals. It's not like this, which is one conducive story. This one is many different stories and about many different animals. It tells you about a lot of them in a short story, and it tells you a lot of information about them.
Right. So combining what we've heard till now, Celesta says that your audience matters, who is reading your book and how well they can connect with it. And for Raghav, it also matters how you're putting the story forward, right? What characters and what kind of storyline you're using. Arunima, do you have something to add to that, or do you have a preference, fiction, non-fiction?
Yeah, I would mostly prefer fictional because a fictional book about a real life situation will would make me feel more imaginative and it will help me visualize. Just like No Nonsense Nandini. It's uh, it's based on a true story and it gives information about the farmer problems farmers are facing. But it is written in a very creative and fictional way, which makes me very interested in the book. So, yeah, I mostly prefer fictional.
Right. For me, I guess I would agree with Celesta and all of you actually. For me, it depends on what the book is trying to convey. Like maybe a book like No Nonsense Nandini, I would prefer it to be more non-fictional. But when it comes to like a story, a fantasy story about how you're saving the world from a crisis, then fiction is definitely better. Coming to from then, I'm sorry for my dog in the background, by the way. From all of the books that you read in for GLF from the long list, without naming any book, we don't want to give out anything. So without naming a book, what are some broad lessons that you learned from it? About whatever the book was talking about, whether it's for animals, environment, how children can save the planet, anything. What are some broad lessons that you learned? I'll start with Raghav.
So some broad things I've learned is that some are you talking about environmentally or story?
From an environmental aspect, something that you took away from that about the problem.
So as Celesta has said, audience definitely does matter. So if you're giving a book like this to an older audience, they won't find it as helpful. Whereas if you give a book like this to a younger audience, they'll understand not a single thing. So you need to you need to like categorize the books in a way that people can understand. So books like these take a little bit of meaning. You need to ponder a little bit about it to find some references. Even I didn't understand some of the things in these books until my mom told me about them. And she told me they were obvious, and I have a small brain. But, anyways, so sometimes books can have hidden meanings. and the easier they are to find, the younger audience you can give them to. And there are different books that don't even have hidden meanings, like this. It always tells you. And there are many different ways to tell a story. One is like a picture book like this, as someone in the world has said, a picture says 1,000 words. So, like, when you have really good pictures, it'll immerse you in the book, even though it's only like 3-4 pages.
And did any of these books give you a sense of hope? Like maybe as a child, I have the power to make change, make a difference in the world. Did it give you some sort of
Yes.
hope?
So, Cloud Called Hurrah is one of those books that give you hope, it shows you that children can change the tide of a problem. They show you how they do it, in what way they do it, and how how you can do it.
Right.
Also, the second book is Miracle on Sundarbag Street, because they transformed a wasteland to a nice park, and a child was the one who initiated it all. And
Right.
this is also real, so it gives you even more hope than a fictional one, because you know it has happened and it could happen very soon.
Which is a good connect to the last question, right? Coming to Arunima, what are some lessons that the books taught you, if anything, and do you think it gave you a sense of hope for the future?
Yes, green literature has made me more aware of the uh, environmental issues around the world. And reading green literature made me feel a lot more sensitive towards the environment. And moreover, green literature has made me feel as if the environment is my friend. And I now have deeper feelings for the environment. And I feel sad when I see people polluting the air, water, and environment. Reading green literature has made me has completely has made me transform. It has completely transformed me into a new person who now has feelings for the environment. So yeah.
And did any of the stories amaze you? Maybe about there are some stories about folk stories, right? About tigers and crocodiles and things like that. Or you learn about how Mumbai, for example, was once filled with vultures, and then over time they disappeared. So did things like that amaze you about how much the world around you has changed? Something you haven't seen yet, used to exist at one point of time. I'll ask you, Arunima.
Yes. Can you please repeat the question again?
Yeah, did the any of the books how they sometimes illustrate how much the world has changed right now? Like at one point it was much more greener, cleaner, safer, more filled with animals and birds around us. Does it amaze you that it's changed so much that nowadays we're mostly surrounded by concrete and lesser greenery?
Yes, it does. It does. It amazes me so much that earlier how we how we shared our how we shared our environment with the animals, but now we just think all the space, the everything around us is only ours. Nothing is for animals, and I'm just shocked how we can become into such sensitive souls and not think and care about the animals. So
That's an important point. How we think that all of this space just belongs to us and we can do whatever we want with it. I'll come to you next, Celesta. What are some broad lessons that the books have taught you?
Well, for me, what I learned the most was about animals. And like she said, most of the people think that the whole planet is only for us, but that's not true at all. And like we should start trying to stop monopolizing land and trying to give the animals at least a little bit of space to live their life, because most animals have gone into extinction because the places they once called home, they can no longer call home because they were taken away from them. And it's like there was this one place near my previous house. It was like a whole forest area. There were tons of monkeys and tons of birds always flying around. We'd go pick jamuns and everything with the whole family together. We'd walk through the forest and like pick jamuns and everything. But like recently, just a few months after we left, there was a house that was under construction that got built, and there's currently only one house over there, but they have cut almost all of the trees there. It was full and bushy, and now you can literally see only the thin trees that barely have leaves on them that are still standing. And that was quite sad. So it's like there were so many monkeys there eating the mangoes, there were so many birds, insects, and everything, and I can't see any of them now because it's all gone.
Right. Again, that point of how fast things have changed now, right? And because you mentioned these things in such detail, and all of you said that you feel a different connect with nature after reading these books. But a lot of the problems that have come up right now, they've been caused by adults, right? We were children when they were happening. So, do you think that these books, like they've changed your view of, or they've connected you more with nature? Do you think that there's a chance that it can do the same for adults? And the adults right there, like me, the adults who are right now entering the adult world, do you think it can help us also change our mindset to make the world a better place? And or do you think that it's mostly up to the children right now? So I'll start with Celesta.
Um, well, actually, there are tons of adults helping, but at the same time, it's very sad because there are tons of adults who know what's happening, and they're like, by the time stuff starts actually going down, like everything starts depleting like crazy, we won't be there anymore. But it's sad because we will, and like at that time, we will be adults. So lots of people think that it's none of their business because they can just live their life right now, but they're disregarding the future generations and the lives they want to live. Um, I think that we can do a lot. So can the adults, and they really need to. Some of them really need to change their mindsets. First, there are lots of simple things that need to be brought about to start change, like plastic bottles, how to recycle them, and plastic bottles in for the first place, their caps were meant to be put inside the bottle and crushed. But nobody does that because nobody knew. It's only in one video where a police officer actually brought it to awareness in India that I found out that this is supposed to be done. I didn't know there was so much we could have done better already, but people just disregard it because they think it's none of their business and it's too much to do. They're too lazy to do. And that we can, as children, at this point, we need to stop just thinking, leave it to the adults. Even if they say leave it to them, we also need to start doing stuff. We can't rely on the adults itself. So we can also do small things like bring about awareness to our friends, start planting small plants wherever we can, fill the house with a bit of greenery, and small things like that. It doesn't matter how small, but we can do stuff. Just recently we came to the topic of environment with my friends, and leaves are burnt everywhere after collection in India in lots of places. And as a kid, I really didn't know that this was bad. I just thought it's something everybody does, it's normal. But now I've realized that smoke is so harmful to the environment, and that our environment is deteriorating because of that one pile of leaves that were being burnt, because nobody tried to stop it. Everybody thought it was normal. When I asked a family member of mine at that time, they just told that smoke of leaves, burnt leaves, is not harmful to the environment. And honestly, at that time, I was like, oh, this is something I never knew. I thought all smoke is harmful. Later on, I learned more and I realized that was not true at all. Smoke is really harmful no matter where it comes from because it's still smoke. So we can bring about a lot of awareness, change the mindsets of adults, try and help them and us to make some change so that at least a little bit of harm is reduced, because it'll take time. There is a lot we have to do, but if we start from the small things, it'll get better and better and better.
I think you raised some very important points, and I especially like that point of adults need to realize that they're saving the world for their children, not necessarily for themselves, and they need to come from that space, right? Raghav, what do you think? Do you think that it's only up to the children, or do you think it's a joint effort, or do you think the adults need to take on more
It
responsibility than
should
they
be, it really should. What it should have been was more of an adults doing it. But adults now have more things, have a lot of things to worry about. I'm not saying it's justified, definitely, but they need, but it's mostly up to us now, because in the future we are the ones who will have to change. We are the ones. So if we start now, we can continue doing it while we are adults, and our children won't have to live in such a in worse in a worse environment.
Right. We can definitely stop it from getting worse. I agree.
Yes.
How about you, Arunima? What do you think?
Yes, I think it's all up to the children because only a few adults think about the environment, whereas all the other adults, I'd like to use the word selfish. All the other adults are very selfish, only caring about themselves. I want this, I want that. No matter whatever happens to the environment, they have this I don't care kind of attitude. And no matter how many speeches Greta Thunberg and Lisa Priya gave, they'd never listen. No matter how hard the children and other people try to change their mindset is set. They would never change. So only a few adults and all the children are the change logos for the world for the future. So yeah, I guess it's mostly up to the children and a little bit of a joint effort.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a joint effort, and in the process of children raising awareness among each other, if we manage to change the mindsets of a few adults, then there's nothing better than that.
Can I say something before the
Yeah.
next question?
Yeah, sure.
One thing I've noticed is very common is that when children try to introduce things to adults or try telling them things, they kind of feel annoyed and they are like, you shouldn't butt in, you're just a kid. But I think earlier during one of the talks going on, somebody brought up this point about. So yeah, I think the adults should also start realizing that as our generations have changed, mindsets have changed, how we learn and what we learn has changed. So now children are actually, have much more wide understanding of the world. We learn more and that we know more now, and we might know more than adults because at that point of time, they might not have had the, um, like opportunity to know stuff, and we have it right now. We learned it and they might still not know, and we can tell them and we can bring awareness. So I really think some adults should start changing their mindsets of how us kids can't do anything, because right now, like almost all of us said, it's mostly up to the children. Like most children think it's mostly up to them because none of the adults will listen.
That's true. In fact, even at 23, even today, I am still told not to butt into an adult conversation. So I know what you mean. And yeah, definitely, they need to learn to be more open and listen to us. And we should definitely have the right to question them on whatever is happening, right? And I'm going to wind up with the last question. But to everyone watching, if there are any additional questions, please do put them up in the chat box, and our panel would be happy to answer. But for my last question of the day, you all said that you read a lot of books which are green literature, environment themed, issue themed. Do such books inspire you at any point to think of a career or a job in this field, in maybe wildlife or climate change or something like that? And I'll start with Arunima.
Yes. So books are green literature, of course. They inspire me a lot, and I always tell my parents that I want to help the environment by doing this. I want to help the environment by doing that. So reading green literature makes me a lot more interested in researching about the environment or how I can help the environment. Through small actions, like at least by planting a few saplings, or uh, switching off the light when not used. So these a few small actions make me uh, I feel it makes me uh, put my I feel a few small actions like that will help me carry forward and become a person who who helps the environment, and who loves the environment a lot. So
Yes. How about you, Raghav? Have they inspired you to think of a career or job in the field?
Actual, I've actually had my career set for a while. Sure, they have influenced it, but it is always and always, probably always will stay a scientist. But what I would study has been influenced by books a lot.
And as a scientist, do you think at some point you'd like to look at ways you can help the planet when it comes to these issues?
I mean, won't that be like the first or second thing I do?
Yeah,
As a
that's
scientist, you're supposed to help the world, not exploit its resources, which are more.
right. And how
But
about
see,
you?
also there's a. You remember the sucker from Cloud called Burra was actually replicated in real life.
So
It was made.
you did mention in your introduction that you hope to become an inventor someday.
Hmm.
So I do hope that I come across one of your inventions someday and it does help save the planet.
Hmm.
And Celesta, how about you?
Same like Raghavan, my career choice has been fixed ever since I was in kindergarten. I loved writing. I used to think that I could write for ages and I would not feel bored. And I also love acting. So it's always like my career choice always mediated between acting and writing. And then at one point I was like, why not just act for like I mean, why not just write for shows and theater? So honestly, I love writing. I have written a lot of stuff and currently writing a lot. And I would love to start writing about something environmental related and put up environmental related stuff in my stories. So that's one way I could include environment into my career choice. And also, I think I would do more of the small stuff for environment, like for starters, um, start plastic segregation. Then there is trying to use biodegradable items like biodegradable toothbrushes and notebooks and pencils. There was actually this one pencil brand that had a seed stuck on the back of it in a capsule, and after using it you could just remove it and put the seed in a pot and plant it. So using stuff like that will also help a lot. So I just try to do the small things, because even though they're small, once you collect them, they'll become a really big help. So
I find your career aspiration very interesting, and I can't wait to read a book written by you someday on this issue. And to be honest, all three of you have such different interests and aspirations, and as I cannot wait to invite you into this field so that we all can work together in solving a very complex issue. And yeah, I think that's all from me. If there are any questions, please do put them up in the chat. There are a lot of people complimenting your spirit, and some even say that you three are characters straight out of Cloud Called Pura. And before we wind up, I'm going to give each of you a chance to just say some words before you sign off. Try to keep it within a minute if possible. Arunima, I'll start with you. Do you have any last words here?
Yes, I just want to say that I'm really, really thankful and grateful that I'm a part of the GLF. And it was really amazing talking and listening to different point of views from everyone. And I hope everyone has a nice evening.
Thanks for coming here today, Arunima. How about you, Raghav? Any parting words today?
Well, thank you for including me in this panel where I'm allowed to express my opinion on book when anyone else goes to sleep. There are people who actually share my interests.
True.
And there are many different ways to tell a story, and everyone can, and that's the point of a book. It's a way to express yourself to the reader. There are there are almost infinite ways to write a book, and there are more than infinite ways to be pleased with them.
I think that's such an impactful statement that there are many different ways to write a story. I think it's, especially for today's theme, it's an important takeaway. And Celesta, how about you?
I would really love to thank you all for having me be part of GLF and all of the people, our audience who has been listening to us. I just hope our discussion over here has helped you all has helped broaden your point of views and mindsets and introduced how us children think and versus how adults think, and just give you something to ponder upon. And I hope all of you try to look for more books related to green literature, because I definitely will. I think being part of this has introduced me to so much more than I knew about books and stories and genres in general.
Yes, I echo Celesta's thoughts completely. Not only did I learn a lot from all of the books that were there in the long list, but I learned a lot from all three of you today as well. And I've taken some fantastic points away for myself too. And thank you to Megha and to the team at Greenlit Fest for hiring me for this discussion as well. I'll pass the mic on to Megha now.
Okay, so I am so thankful, kids. That was yeah, that was just so brilliant. I think all the comments that we've had are all praising all of you for, you know, just having such wonderful opinions. And what I really like is that you are you know, so determined about what you're saying. It's not just being said, you know, loosely. And even though I am very much in adult territory, I think I can vote to have a connect to childhood thanks to my work in children's publishing, as I keep saying. So you know, I just every time I listen to kids and also to young people like you, Tamanna, you know, I am just so greatly inspired because it really gives me hope for future. You know, I think when children say things that make me ponder and make me think about the work I'm doing as a writer, as a person, as a, you know, as a publisher, it's so inspiring, and it's also so thought provoking. So, and it's not always that we get to hear the children's perspective. So, you know, I'm so glad that we could have all of you on our jury. We could have all of you in discussion here. And I really hope to see you all very soon again in some capacity, now that we have all come to know about each other and come to know about each other's works. So I'm just going to see if there are any questions before we go to the, you know, there is Benedict who wants to know, how soon will you guys write your first book? So yes, And Tamanna, you're also being, praised for the way you managed this panel. Lalit Kumar says that Tamanna, you have managed very well. So yes, so when are you going to write your first books? Arunima, why don't we start with you?
Yes, I've I've already started writing my very first novel. It's about the relationship between a boy and a ant. Yeah, it's going good.
Okay, and Celesta?
Actually, I have already started writing my very first novel too. I've written actually two, but both of them are underway. One of them I have published,
Okay.
which is like most of my stories are related to romance. I really love cute
Okay.
stuff and relationships between two people. But the second one, which I'm currently writing, is heavily influenced by both romance and environment, because it's like it has magic as an element to it. So it introduces a lot about environment, and I think I kind of wanted to change my story in many ways after reading some of the books I did. So yeah, once
Right.
I finish writing them, I will publish that book on romance and magic. But one of them I've already published, the first one, which I spoke about.
Okay, that's interesting. And Raghav, what about you? I know you have you see yourself as an inventor, but I know that you write prolifically. So, yes, when are you going to publish your first book, or you think that your books are only for your eyes?
I mean, I don't really write to say publish it. Though my grandmom is a writer and my mom writes really well. I write just for fun and I make like short paragraphs, short stories. I don't make publish worthy things. I just make small paras.
Okay. Tamanna, what about you? Have you written anything? Are you interested in writing books? I know you do such a nice job with deconstructing issues around climate, but
Yeah, I think I was just reflecting, and I think mine has more been always towards science and writing research papers and things like that. So I think I do that much better. I wouldn't be able to even make the connection between a boy and an ant. So it's just, yeah, mine is more towards scientific writing.
okay, well, to each his own. But really, thank you so much to all of you and to your parents, for having you all here. And this was really, I think, um, the comments itself are testimony to the fact that we've really all enjoyed this conversation a lot. Sudeep is asking, Tamanna, where do I read your pieces? So I think, Sudeep, I did say that you can check out Tamanna's Instagram handle. It's Sumi Tamanna. But Tamanna, is there somewhere else where people can check out your writing?
Yes, I'll put up a link in the chat.
Sure. So Tamanna's link will go up on chat. Thank you so much.